Well, in politics, the more things appear to change, the more they stay the same. Now, consider what is happening here in Berlin. Last week, 2 months after the national election, coalition talks to form a new government collapsed. The unlikely combination of conservatives, liberal Democrats, and the Greens proved too much, even for the magic of Angela Merkel. In fact, the chancellor, after 12 years in power, was at her weakest, some would say, just last week. But now a replay of the past may be the fix for the future. The Social Democrats, who have spent the past 4 years in a grand coalition with Merkel's conservatives, are signaling that they could be ready to do it again. And Merkel, well, she likes what she is seeing.
In my opinion, forming a stable government after elections is an intrinsic value in and of itself. And maybe all parties are considering the fact that this is important for the people, for our capacity to act on the European playing field, when it comes to foreign policy, and when it comes to solving problems.
All right, that was the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, speaking there. Let's go to our political correspondent, Thomas Sparrow. Good evening to you, Thomas. Okay, help us, please, Thomas. What is going on here?
Well, I think it has a name and a surname. It's the German president, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who decided, after he saw that collapse of negotiations, to intervene, to try and talk to the different parties involved and see if there's any possibility of finding that common ground that is necessary to form a coalition. He did so by speaking to Angela Merkel. He did so by also speaking to Martin Schulz, the head of the Social Democrats. And that's what we're seeing now, the Social Democrats saying, Brent, that they are not strictly opposed, as they had said before, to forming a new coalition with Angela Merkel, that they are going to at least try and sit at the same table, and they will indeed sit at the same table later this week with the German president.
Yeah, I mean, what a difference a week in politics can make. Let's listen to what the Social Democrat, the SPD leader, Martin Schulz, said exactly 1 week ago when those coalition talks collapsed, and then we're going to compare that with what he said today. Take a listen.
In view of the election results of 24th of September this year, we are not available to join a grand coalition. We are not afraid of new elections. It's possible that we'll end up with a constellation that's unprecedented in German history. We have no reason to fear that.
All right, I mean, that, sounds like he's hinting at a 180 right there. What does the SPD, the Social Democrats, what do they have to gain by re-entering the government in a grand coalition?
Well, it depends, Brent, how they present that, because they could present it as them being the saviors, if you will, them being those who made possible Germany to avoid new elections or a minority government of Angela Merkel. If they present it that way, they could even go to the negotiations of a grand coalition with a series of proposals and with a probably better hand than Angela Merkel, although it's also important to say that the Conservatives would be the main party in such a coalition. On the other hand, it is also clear that the SPD is facing a lot of internal problems when it comes to what the course of the party should be, whereas some say, yes, we should sit at least at the same table, we should take heed of what the German president has said and at least talk to each other. There are others who say that would be terrible for the Social Democrats because it was already proven after 4 years in a grand coalition that the results, as we saw in the election on September 24, were certainly not very good for the Social Democrats, and that's partially to blame, that's their view, on the grand coalition that they formed part.
And Thomas, what's your opinion here? Let's say this grand coalition comes into being yet again. Will Angela Merkel, will she allow the Social Democrats to enjoy the title of savior or rescuer of the political process?
I don't think that will be the case. It is certain that if they do form another grand coalition, the Conservatives will have to include some proposals by the Social Democrats and some big proposals by the Social Democrats as well. That could be the case in areas of social justice, pensions, schools, health insurance, those areas like that. But at the same time, Angela Merkel wants to make sure if there is another grand coalition, that she is the one who is leading that grand coalition, and she is therefore the one that, to a large extent, made that possible.
Yeah, and of course, the question remains open. Can Merkel survive another grand coalition? All right, our political correspondent Thomas Sparrow on the story for us tonight. Thomas, as always, thank you very much.